Hello everyone, welcome to V8 Online's coverage of Thursday night IMSA. Tonight we are here for round 12, the final round of this championship. We are at Imola for the final time in our Thursday night IMSA coverage as well. This will be our last broadcast of Thursday night IMSA. But thank you for tuning in. We are, as I said, here at Imola. Jay Kennedy and once again Bo Albert alongside me. Bo, it's going to be a great night of racing.
It's going to be a great night of racing. We're in hot conditions. We're at a beautiful circuit, the Enzo Dino Ferrari circuit. Plenty of Ferraris on hand, so the crowd will be going nuts for those Italian cars as they fly around the circuit, currently dominating the GTE class. But I think we're in for some very, very good racing around a very tough circuit.
It'll be really, really tight, really, really close the whole way through the field tonight. Really looking forward to it. We've got about 3 minutes left in qualifying at the moment. Guys in the DP class, they're nice and close. The top three separated by about half a second. A familiar name in that split with Carlo Labardi leading the way, and Thomas Hin's out on track tonight having a bit of a drive in those cars. Yeah, GT3 class, that is very, very close at the moment. All of those cars, the 6 cars we have in that class tonight, separated by 0.6 of a second. Is that right? A little bit more than that, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong number. Top 5 in that class separated by about 0.7 of a second.
Yeah, it's incredibly close, being led by Elliot Biddle, one of Evolution Racing Team's World Championship hopefuls. So he's a very quick driver, but Martin Skreispack is a World Championship driver already, and he's hot on the heels of Elliot. So we've got some top guys in that class, as we do all throughout the field, such as Carlo Labardi leading the way in DPs, who is actually second in the overall championship. And for those that watch the RaceSpot TV coverages, Gianni Vecchio leading your GTEs will be no surprise either.
There's some really big names in the race tonight. 2 minutes left before we get underway. This will be our final broadcast in Thursday night. The series next season, we will bring you the brand new hosted series, which will be cut price out to light. Mazda MX-5 Challenge. I know, Bo, you're very excited. You've already been out doing laps in the 5. Round 1 will be at Bathurst in 2 weeks' time. It's going to be a lot of fun bringing that series to everyone starting in 2 weeks.
Exactly. On Thursdays at the moment, we're broadcasting 650 horsepower weapons. Next season, we're going to the Little Miatas. Some people might even call them hairdryer motors. It's going to be incredible racing, and don't be surprised in that series if we're getting 3-4 wide on the first lap all the way to the final lap. It's going to be crazy, and it's going to be one of the best series I think V8 Online have ever broadcasted.
Yeah, I agree. Really looking forward to it. And big thanks to Price Racing for their support behind the scenes in helping us out, bringing that series to you next season. So that'll start from 2 weeks' time on Thursday the 14th, right through until the Thursday before Christmas, 2nd of December. 14 rounds over 15 weeks. And some pretty cool tracks too. We've got Bathurst, we've got Watkins Glen, Phillip Island, Oran Park, and Snetterton as well for the first time ever.
Yeah, there are some fantastic tracks there, and it's going to be a really good season with some slow tracks like Oran Park, which is very technical, all the way up to, like you said, the colossal mountain that is Mount Panorama. And we also are going to potentially be having a round 0 for people just to test the cars out and whatnot. And there's actually a vote there for people to actually decide what track they want. And so feel free to go through the forums and click on the Nordschleifer as your vote for that. But apart from that, it's going to be a fantastic season, and I think with Cut Price Racing, we have some fantastic tracks on offer next season.
Pretty much all the tracks will be nice and short or medium tracks. The big one I'm looking forward to will be a draft fest down that back straight the whole way to the start finish. Might have to start talking about the now because qualifying is done. Grid is up on the screen now, so the starting grid for DP class will be Carlo Labardi, as we said, starting from pole. Wayne Hewitt in P2, Thomas Hin's 3rd, Gabriel Ruse in 4th, and then we have James King in position. Timing has just crashed on me at the exact wrong moment. Run
After
through
that,
yeah, you go for it, mate. Go for it.
So after James King in 6th is Stephen Denton, followed by Tate Marchi and Marky Olsen, who have decided not to qualify tonight in that Corvette class. In your GTEs, Gianni Vecchio leads Fabrice Cornelius, two very, very quick World Championship drivers, followed by Julian Orfere, Antti Terro, Matt J. Farrow, Tony Baird, David Jellings, Paul Mansell, Wayne Seaburg, and Martin Silvassi rounding out the top 10, with Andrew Welter, Guy Leach, Jose Ramon Buela, and Mario Berganzini rounding out your 14 fantastic GTEs.
Yeah, then in the GT3 class, we've got Elliot Biddle leading the way from Garcia, Marcin Spizgak, then Ross Rizzo, Zazon, Turkinen, Marchi, and Marchi and also the other class. So that's the field. We've got 28 cars tonight. It's 8 DP field, 6 3 and 14. A very, very good tonight. Of all of the different classes get underway.
Not at all, and these drivers won't have long to prepare their tyres, specifically the Corvette prototypes. They're only going to get 2 corners to warm up these tyres, which of course the Corvettes don't have tyre warmers, so it's going to be a bit dangerous for these guys in that top class to make sure they get away cleanly into that very, very hard braking zone into turn 1 and that very tight chicane. So as the pace car rolls off now, it's going to get very, very interesting in the Corvette class right from the get-go.
Yeah, I'll be hoping that the GTE cars give a lot of room behind because it'll be very, very slick. See the aggressive weaves from these guys trying to get some heat into the tyres. They come through to the second to last corner already, ready to get the green flag. 45-minute race as always too.
It's going to get very interesting for these cars. Rounding the final corner now, that is it. You cannot really weave anymore. Some people might try and squeeze a little bit more out of it, but until now, the pace car is going to come in.
Oh, there's been
and
contact.
Already, chaos is beginning as we get the green flag for the final time in this season's IMSA Sports Car Championship. And it's a clean start for our pole sitter, but for third, it's going to get a bit racy.
A little bit of almost contact there between Wayne Hewitt and Thomas Hinds. They'll come into turn 1, back into 6th file. Front of GTE, the front 2 have pulled away nice and cleanly, but 3rd and 4th, definitely a bit of a fight going on here. Goes into line very, very well though. Front of GT3, Biddle's pulled away, but 2nd and 3rd, very, very close.
Almost too close. Very, very close in that class, but it looks like everyone's got away already, which is fantastic, although I am seeing some cars already diving into the pits, which is not sure what's happened there.
Battle 5th, 6th, 7th in DP class. These guys are going right at it. And so James King was the car that we mentioned. He was into made contact at the back of, I think it was Gabriel Ruse, but I'm not 100% sure on that. These guys are now got away fairly well, starting to spread into line quite cleanly, but yeah, the rear of the DP field, front of GTE starting to close up very, very quickly.
It does. These DPs are really struggling on cold tyres, like we said, and this could happen as well. We do have some slightly off the pace drivers in that Corvette class, and we have some incredibly talented drivers in the front of your GTE class, so it could potentially happen that we do have Corvettes mixing it, as we actually have one of the Corvettes actually off in the gravel there.
Yep, Mikey Olsen's off in dirt, and I think looks like he might actually be pulling out of the race, but the rest of the field has got through lap 1 fairly unscathed. Ride by battle here between Farrow and Turo. While once again.
Oh, I've actually just noticed that a race leader in GT3, Elliot Biddle, has thrown the car off on the first lap at Aqua Minerale, and he's now down to last, so pole sitter should be the fastest car on track, has a lot of work to do now.
If we can get a Cup Price Racing replay and see what happened there.
Just the classic case of dipping a wheel on the outside grass and flicking the rear of the car around, which is very easy to do and something a lot of drivers have to watch out for, and unfortunately just cost Elliot out a little bit there. But we do have a great battle happening at the front of DPs at the moment.
Yeah, Labardi's pulled away, but Wayne Hewitt, Thomas Hinds, these two guys are battling very, very hard.
Dentons looked a lot confident under brakes into that chicane there than Wayne Hewitt, who's currently holding down the second spot. And we also have the very experienced proto driver of Gabriel Roos just behind as well. So these guys are going to fight very hard, and you can actually see a little bit of damage to a few of these prototypes. That's not necessarily through contact. These cars are very low to the ground, and there are some high curbs around here, so they have to be careful of their curb abuse around this circuit as well.
Thomas Hins thought about making a move. Oh, Roos! Big moment for him. Just did the fastest lap of the race, and now has a little bit of front damage from those sleeping policemen. Yeah, little curbs. Speed humps, I guess you'd say, sitting on the edge of the track. As he went to rejoin, he ran over that. Caused a fair bit of damage to the front of the car. Just as you were saying before, damage to these cars not necessarily through contact, but these curbs, very aggressive.
Very close. Gianni Vecchio, your GT class leader, is right on the back of your prototype last place at the moment, Stephen Denton, which has left Fabrice Cornelius, the veteran in GTEs, as well as Julian Orfrey to catch up right now. So we have a three-way battle of the Ferraris at the Ferrari circuit. So GT is just hotted up a lot and legitimately on pace. We do have a prototype in the mix as well.
Yeah, this is going to be... I think this will get really messy, because just right there, Vecchio had to check up because of the positioning of that DP. And the pace down the straight means that the DP will pull away, but under brakes, the Ferrari looks like it's a lot stronger. This could be very dangerous here.
You have to remember as well that Steven does not legitimately have to let these guys past. He's still effectively ahead of these cars on track, so he by no means has to let these cars do as he runs a little bit off, and Vecchio gets so close to the back of him, and Vecchio is going to have a run here on that prototype. But watch this, the prototype with these so many extra horses down that straight will just pull away, and Fabrice Cornelius is getting very racy behind, and he's going to have to duck to the outside as they head through the King Straight. And we also have Julian Orfrey also thinking about getting in the mix, but it's going to be a battle under brakes between the two Ferraris. Cornelius falls back in line. Smart thing to do this early in the race. But GTE is getting very messy as we now have 5 cars in this train, and it's going to get more even sooner.
Yeah, up the front as well of the DP class, Wayne Hewitt, Thomas Hins having a bit of a battle too. They were almost side by side coming into turn 1. But we'll stay with this battle at the front of GTE. Up the inside goes Vecchio. And DP of Denton. Now right in the middle of these Ferraris.
Julian Orfrey with a big sideways moment there out of the Tosa hairpin. And now Anti-Terro is also going to have a bit of a look as he monsters the back of the 7 car. The Corvette is finally going to make contact.
Wow.
And it could get even messier here as the Corvette has to take to the grass. The 4GT having a look at that white Ferrari there. It's all going on in this class at the moment. Bumper to bumper. We now have another Ferrari in the mix as well. Almost 6 cars line astern in this class, all because of one Corvette.
This is actually getting quite dangerous here for Denton. We're just seeing Jose Ramon Buerla off the track as well. Same sort of incident or earlier with Elliot Biddle, who has managed to gain 1 spot. Stay back at we'll actually go to the front. Battle for second in the DP class. Hins has another look up the inside, unable to get the move done. But he's showing a lot of pace at the moment. Fastest driver on track 2 laps ago. Last lap around had to give up a bit of time to Hewitt because he cannot get by.
Yeah, these drivers, every corner they take are making me wince a little bit. They're just throwing these prototypes around using every inch of track and pushing their cars to the absolute limit, which is fantastic to see. You can see their Hins just firing the car into that hairpin there, trying to close in on Hewitt. Gonna have to wait for the front straight, which is probably his best opportunity, but I just love watching these top guys on the limit in these cars.
Being an incident happened to Andrew Welter. I'm not too sure exactly what's happened to him. Like he's just lit off the track and into the fence. Possibly all in his own. In our Cut Price Racing replay at the moment. Coming through the final corner. Stay on the AstroTurf and into the fence. Go back live. Gabriel Roos is around as well. Gabriel Roos not having a great night. He's just lost a spot to Tate Marchi. Now has James King on his tail. All happening now.
I think I heard a bit of a crunch there for Roos as well, so I think that might be even more damage to add to his pretty big tally on that prototype as he's sliding the rear into that corner again. So clearly that damage he does have to the prototype is beginning to hurt him quite a lot, but like you say, it's kicking off left, right and center at the moment. And that's what the IMSA series has done all season as it's still going on, Jay.
Something's happened with Stephen Denton in the middle of those Ferraris and Ford GTs. Ended up facing the wrong direction. We've got a Cut Price Racing replay on screen at the moment. Happened live while we were watching that last replay. Just actually has been served by... I'm not sure. It might have been... Oh, I'm not sure who it was, but someone definitely gave him a little bit of a serve and possibly needed to happen. I'm not going to ever condone dirty driving or bad driving, but I think that was probably long overdue.
Well, unfortunately, Stephen Denton does have another dent on his car, so that's a shame
pun.
for him. Gotta have the puns in summer.
You know I love a good pun.
Puns must be included in the V8 Online broadcast, but still we have plenty of battles happening on track as we have Hewitt and Hinz still having their fight, and Cornelius is not letting Vecchio go either. And just a little bit further back, we still have a bit of a train with those GTE cars with one of the Fords as well. So IMSA once again just kicking off halfway through the race, and all these drivers are pushing so hard so early in the race. I wonder how they can keep this up for another 35 minutes.
But don't forget, we're going to add a pit stop into the mix as well. So this is going to be very entertaining for the next 35 minutes. We've got around about 22 laps of racing left. Here comes Hinz. He's going to look around the outside. He's got a bit of an overlap this time. Not able to do it though. Hewitt looks a little bit stronger under brakes. But Hinz looks a lot more committed through the corner.
Yeah, definitely. But Hinz is doing a good thing here by going around the outside. If he can just potentially fake Hewitt into braking very late, Hinz gets on the brakes early. With how deep Hewitt is throwing that car into the corner, Hinz could open himself up for a very nice undercut if he could. So he's got a lot of options up his sleeve right now, just biding his time at the moment, but looking very racy at the moment. Oh, GTE, we have Vecchio in the wall and Cornelius recovering for a spin. The two were going side by side into turn one. Cornelius in the Vendevil Ferrari up the inside. And I think he's just got oversteer mid-corner and taken out your race leader, Gianni Vecchio. So that's a shame there. They were having a great fight, but it's all changed in that class right now.
Yeah, Cut Price Racing replay on screen right now of that incident. Side-by-side contact, and then a bit of a strange second part of that accident. I'm not too sure how to call that. That's very strange.
On my screen, it looks like it was just a bit of a mid-corner wiggle, which is very easy to do. These GTEs sit very low, so any kind of bump can upset them quite a lot. And Cornelius, a very experienced driver, so I know he would not do anything intentionally. So that's just hard racing, going for the lead of a very intense motor race. And it's just got a bit more intense as Cornelius has fallen into the clutches of Orfrey, Tero, and Faro. And the battle for the GT lead is on once again, just in a slightly different light.
Just looked a little bit like Cornelius there, just got a little bit of a bounce off the curb and it sent him a little bit wider than he was expecting. Did give room, but not quite enough in the end. But this battle at the front is well and truly on. Been a little bit lackluster in regards to the fights for the lead in the GTE class this season, but tell you what, the finale of this season is definitely putting on a show for us. Half an hour left in this race. It's on.
It's kind of like a fireworks show, this series. It's always a bit of a slow start, but it is just kicking off so quickly right now. And it's going to be a very intense battle all the way through this GT field. And we also have Hewitt and Hinz. I just cut to them and they're just flying through the Aqua Minerale corner using every bit of track they possibly can. And Hinz potentially with a move. There's a bit of a bump there as they're both fighting to get up the hill as quick as they can. And these two are not letting up on each other.
A great battle between these two. Very clean for the most part too. That little bit of a love tap there definitely would have been intentional. We both know Thomas quite well from his time in the commentary box here. So we know that he's not a dirty racer, and I've known Wayne Hewitt on track for a long, long time, and he's very, very clean as well. So these guys will want to do it the right way. Looking forward to seeing how this plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, and it's actually surprising with how hard these guys are like beating panels on each other, that they're still not too far away from Carlo Labardi, who is all out in clean air. It's only 4 seconds, and with how hard they've been fighting, I would have expected it to be a lot more.
I think the big advantage that he's going to get with the pace that he's got in behind Hewitt is he may be able to undercut it in pit stop with fuel. That's a big positive that Hinz has been tucked in behind Hewitt there. Interesting to see what happens after the pit stops. We'll quickly go and have a look at the GT3 class at the moment. Ro Garcia leading by about 1.9 seconds. Ross Rizzo been my man of the series for the GT3 runners in this series. He's done a great job punching above his weight. Currently P2, Georgie Zarzon in 3rd position, Elliot Biddle in 4th. Marcian's dropped back. Something's happened to him over the last couple of laps as well, because he's a long way back in 5th.
Yeah, he had a slow lap before. I'll go and see what that was for Marcian, but very experienced driver, so very weird to see a mistake from him, and I'm just seeing the replay now. It actually wasn't a mistake. Unfortunately, my teammate Elliot Biddle got a bit too racy into the Tosa hairpin and just gave Marcian a bit of a love tap and sent him round, so those two will both be trying to fight through the field now.
Battle for the podium in GTE well and truly on. Been a fun fight. Gillies has started to pull away. He's now got a 1.5 second lead. Arafat, Turo and Farrow going at it here for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Kick down to 15 minutes gone. 30 minutes left in this race. Said around about 28 laps. Thomas Hinz, Wayne Hewitt, change of position. Side by side, and through goes Hinz. Is he going to get this finished? He does. Move.
So it's finally done for Tom Hinz. Clearly not too interested in saving too much fuel, but with how close these two have been matched for pace so far this race, I wonder if Hewitt has anything left for Hinz.
Up Price Racing replay. Up exactly what's happened, how that pass was made. Actually did it around the outside, as we were saying earlier. Would he be able to do it around the outside? He managed to hold on to the position. Good move.
Meanwhile, 2nd and GTE is going to be going side by side into the Variante Villeneuve. Very fast chicane. You don't want to be going side by side here. And that's going to give the Ford just behind a bit of a look at the number 8 car. Number 7 car as they fire into the Tosa hairpin. These guys are separated bumper to bumper. And at a circuit nicknamed Autodromo Enzo Dino Ferrari, I'm sure the fans will be pulling for the Ford right now, as it is getting very racy behind the number 7 car. Having a look into the incredibly fast corner coming up, but he thinks better of it. But these guys are not going to take it easy in the first 20 minutes of this race.
Not at all. This is what can potentially decide where you come out after the pit stops, which is where you want to be ahead. Doesn't matter quite as much in the early parts, but stick in there behind, save a dash of fuel. Very, very interesting to see what happens after the pit stops with these guys in regards to fuel numbers. Not far off the pit window starting to open. We know that in these races, everyone has run long. Guys don't change tyres in these races. Just splash the fuel and go. Run as long as you can. Take as little fuel as you need and go again.
Yeah, I think pit stop's going to play a huge factor in tonight's race, because you have to remember that not only do all these cars have to take a pit stop, as we actually see the number 7 right on cue coming into the pits. So that's the first of our pit stops by Julian Orfrey, and you can see now he's doing just 60 kilometers an hour down this entire front straight. It is a remarkably long pit lane here at Imola, and it's a very, very painful time loss when you're in the pit. So where you rejoin in traffic is going to be huge here tonight.
Gianni Vecchio on screen. He's back in effectively 6th in class. He's just got ahead of Paul Mansell and Martin Silvassi, who have been battling for position pretty much most of the race. David Jellings was involved in their battle earlier as well. Vecchio will be trying to work hard to get back up towards the pointy end, eventually get a podium in the end. Interesting, I'm just Thomas Hinz well. He's already pulled 1.3 seconds on Wayne Hewitt since he got past.
That's
Pulling away quite
remarkable
quick.
pace.
Interesting to see his lap times against Labardi at the moment too.
1/10 quicker.
Yep.
So that's not a huge gain, it's a little gain, but you have to remember with all that time spent behind Hewitt, he's going to have a much quicker pit stop than Labardi would, who has been out in front all the races. Hinz is not taking liberties with the curb there. And you have to remember though, with the pit lane, he's going to be quicker, so even if Labardi is still matching his times, it's going to get racy very quick, as I'm actually seeing Labardi with a lot of damage to the car at the front.
Yeah, the
so
front.
he's been attacking the Imola curbs, he's not afraid of them, but has he hurt his top speed a little bit too much now?
It's going to be interesting to see, and the big thing too for Hinz, he's been tucked in behind another car, so he's going to have to take a couple of laps to get rhythm back again as well. So interesting to keep an eye on the lap times of Thomas Hinz. Interesting to note though, Gabriel Ruse has actually done the fastest lap of the race. Fastest in the GTE class, Reese Cornelius.
Yep, so Cornelius is running away with the Vendevil racing car. I feel bad for those guys. If you have not seen the VLN broadcast, you should at least watch the last 15 minutes. Heartbreaking scenes for those guys, but Fabrice doing his best to get redemption for that team right now. And he's being chased by Anti-Terror and Matt Farrow behind in the Ford. And with pit stops already beginning to take place in the GTE class, this field is going to chop and change quite a lot until the final 10 minutes.
Zarzon's just behind Arafat after his pit stop. Might be able to get a little bit of draft, try and catch up the gap to Ross Rizzo, which is around about 6 seconds now. Rizzo's done a great job of pulling away from Zarzon, but Roque Garcia, he's done a great job pulling away from Rizzo. He's now got that out to about 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, out to 2.5 seconds, but Rizzo was actually 0.2 quicker on that last lap, and 2.5 seconds can go very, very quickly in this IMSA Sports Car Series that we've seen so many times. This series being decided in a blink of an eye, so Garcia out in the front at the moment, but Rizzo, like you said, probably the man of the GT3 season, is putting in a big effort, and potentially he could close in on the positive sim racing car.
We've seen Rizzo be nice and clean throughout this series. He's just kept it out of trouble, keep the car straight, and that's been a big, big positive for him. So expect Ross Rizzo to be a name that we'll see in the future in the Australia-New Zealand sim racing community. Done a very, very good job and done himself proud.
He has, and Rizzo is also a member of the Aussie Driver Search program, who sponsor our Monday Nights V8 Supercars, and Rizzo actually competes in that, so he's definitely a man of all trades, even in the real world, so all the best to him from us at V8 Online in that series, and for now, he needs good luck to try and catch down Garcia.
Thomas Hinz is in the pit, as with Wayne Hewitt as well. That gap got out to about 7 seconds as well between Hinz and Hewitt, so something happened to Wayne Hewitt on that last lap around.
I was going to see if I can do a little bit of digging to see what has happened to Hewitt there. As, like you said, he wasn't too far away from Hinz, and that gap opened up exponentially there, so bit of a shame there. It was I don't know the name of the corner, but it was a very fast left-hander in the middle part of the circuit. A huge slide, had to lock the brakes up not to hit the wall. Got away with it, probably lost about 3 to 4 seconds, but that was a scary moment, and I'm sure his heart rate went through the roof.
Cut Price Racing replay and see if we can work out what happened. Oh, found. And a big thanks to Cut Price Racing, who will now be our sponsor of our new Thursday night series starting week's time. Cut Price Racing as the MX-5 Challenge. Geez, that was a big moment for Hewitt. Lucky he didn't hit the wall. Lucky there was no other cars around him at that point. That could have ended very, very badly. Hewitt's in a little bit of trouble because he's now come out in amongst the battle for the leading positions in GTE.
Yeah, it's not an ideal place to be, so those guys are not going to want to give up any kind of time, even to a faster car. So he's going to have to work for those passes despite being in the much quicker car. So it's not an ideal place to rejoin in the race, but if anyone can do it, I'm sure Hewitt can.
Keep an eye on what happens at front between Labardi when he pits and where he comes out in relation to Thomas Hinds as well. Going to be very, very interesting to see what happens there. Hewitt actually took a fairly long pit stop in relation to him, who, as expected, he only 9.7 seconds. Top Hewitt 11.4. Pit stop starting to happen in T3 class. Marcin in the middle has made stop.
Labardi's actually in a bit of an awkward place with traffic here. He's just got past Ross Rizzo there, but he was having quite a tough time of getting past him and the GTE car. So Labardi trying to maximize the fuel and trying to use that low fuel as much as he can before he takes his mandatory pit stop is actually hurting himself in traffic here. And if Thomas Hinds, who currently has pretty much the entire MLS circuit to his disposal at the moment, Labardi could be hurting himself quite a lot here. So it'll be interesting to see if he does in fact pit on this lap, because he's beginning to get hurt quite a lot in these slower cars.
Yep, traffic will be really hurting now. Every 10th effectively double, because he's already made his pit stop. He's already done that service, and he's got clear track ahead of him now. You know, Labardi's down a little bit on pace as well, and will probably have to take a longer pit stop. So this really does hurt Labardi, but we're pushing on. Last lap around 1:39.1. We'll compare that to when he crosses the line, his first flying lap after the pit stops. 20 minutes to go.
Just an update on top speeds. Labardi is 5 kilometers an hour down on straight line speed, and at a circuit with the front straight that Imola has, 5 kilometers, you're gonna feel it in lap time. So right now, as Labardi circulates in your race lead in the Corvettes, it's looking very, very positive right now for Thomas Hinds. As Wayne Hewitt off the road.
Both saw that at exactly the same time, I think. You just caught the last moment of it. Hewitt ends up not being in trouble with that traffic around him because they've all jumped into the pits, but Hewitt trying to go around the outside, and then a little bit of contact between Biddle and Hewitt there. Unintentional, but definitely contact either way.
And Elliott is actually behind Marcin before, again, who, of course, had that incident earlier in the race where Elliott accidentally outbroke himself and went into the back of Marcin and sent him around. So, do you think Marcin will be willing to let Elliott go nice and sweetly this time?
No. No, definitely not. This will actually be a very, very good battle to watch, because I think this could potentially be for third position, depending on how the pit stop cycle goes. I know Zarzon is in third, but that could change. Just noticing as well, Ross Rizzo is now in the lead in the GT3 class, because the first of the pit stops at the front of that class with Garcia now in the pits. But the guys we're watching on screen, Biddle and Marcin Spiceback, they are both have pitted. They both made their stop.
And these guys qualified within a tenth of a second of each other, so there's no advantage in pace for either one. And this is going to be a very, very close fought battle between the ex-Pro World Champion versus the driver who was really a hot shot at getting into that Pro World Championship tonight. As actually Wayne Hewitt having a big moment under brakes there and lucky not to go into the back of Marcin.
Hewitt will be able to get out of the way of this battle now, and he'll leave it in just as good a shape as he found it when he got there. They were nose to tail when he got there, and now they're nose to tail again. The only driver left to pit now in the GT3 class is Ross Rizzo. Gap between Zarzon and Marcin Spiceback only about 2 seconds, so this could be a 3-car battle for the last spot on the podium in this class.
I've just seen an accident at the incredibly tight Variante Alta chicane. Mario Bergonzini in that Ford, sponsored by Mobile One, launches it off the inside curb, rotates it, and a gentle nudge into the tyre barrier. But that was enough for him to call quits on tonight's race.
Cut price racing replay of that now.
Oh, and we also have race leader Carlo Labate in the pits.
Right, so get back live from this cut price racing replay. We'll see where Thomas Hinz comes out to. I think Labate may have missed his pit stall too. Looking at the times, it showed a little bit of negative speed, so that usually means that you've missed your box and you're reversing. Back live. Hinz now in the front straight.
With that awful trundle down the pit, 60 kilometers an hour, just waiting for Thomas Hinz to come into shot. And Labate is going to resume in the race lead. So where is Thomas Hinz? Coming across the start-finish line now and full speed into turn 1, doing 270 kilometers an hour. Whilst Labate is just limited to braking at the first turn. So the gap is still relatively close between those two. And if Thomas Hinz still has good pace, he can reel it in. But I'm surprised to see the gap as large as it was.
Yeah, I thought Labate would have had a little bit longer pit stop. It's actually quicker in the pit lane by 0.2 of a second, but 0.2 longer pit stop. So Hinz lost a little bit of time getting into his pit box. But the gap at 3.2 seconds, not much in it. Still 15 minutes of racing left.
Currently second in GTE, Antiterro with a huge moment into the first chicane. And on rejoining, almost plowed into one of the Corvette prototypes there, the 26 car of Tate Marchi. So big moment for Anti, who's currently second in that GTE class, although I believe yet to take a pit stop.
Yeah, correct. The top 4 in that class are yet to pit, so that class still very up for grabs at the moment. Jeez, that was a very, very tight rejoin. Go back live. Ross Rizzo has made his pit stop, and that is rather close for the front of GT3.
Yeah, that's incredibly close. That's the gap is probably about halved there in Ross Rizzo's benefit. He has the Ben Dabble Sim Sport car going up his inside, which is not a nice place to let a car through, and that's going to hurt him quite a lot. And that's going to allow Roge Garcia just to pull that lead ever so slightly, but Roge still has to negotiate the Ben Devil car himself, so this is Ross's chance to get in the slipstream of that Corvette that's just gone past him and try and make some inroads when Garcia has to go through the same fate.
Have a look at the next battle in that class, though. Zarzon now has company. Marcian's caught him. Cornelis in the pits too.
Marcian has fantastic pace at the moment. He's pulled away from Elliott Biddle like there's no tomorrow, and Jorsi Zarjon in that third place on the podium is not looking safe at all. 14 minutes on the clock. This is going to have to be one heck of an effort to keep Marcian behind. As our top 3 in GTE will dive into the pits, and Jose Raman Buella, we'll see if he pits to make that all 4 GTE cars in the pits, and indeed it is. So the Jim Racing car into the pits as well. So that class will eventually be cleansed, but we still have that battle going on.
Cornelis should come out with a fairly good lead over Antiterro just behind him. Antiterro now looks like he's got clear track behind. Tony Baird starting to catch him, but Antero's been a big winner out of that cycle of pit stops.
Yeah, he has, and despite that big moment at turn 1 we saw from him, I think that gap to Fabrice might have actually closed significantly. There was only 0.3 gained in the pit lane, but overall I think Antiterro has really put some special laps in against Fabrice Cornelius.
Yeah, that does look a little bit close. I think it was around about 3.5 seconds before the pit stops. Now 2.6, so pretty sure that has closed. Vecchio, have a look at him putting a lot of pressure on Martin Silvassi. Remember, Vecchio was leading this race for the first 10 minutes or so. Ended up in the wall though at turn 2.
Yep, so Vecchio, one of the most dominant drivers in this GT class, very, very experienced, very, very quick, up against the Evolution Racing Team Hornet of Martin Silvassi. The Hornet, of course, the developmental program for ERT. So Martin Silvassi, it's going to be a trial by fire for him. He has one of the best in the world in these cars right behind him, and he has 12 minutes to hold him off. I think Martin has a pretty good chance at doing it if he can keep himself calm and put in some great laps, but Gianni looks very, very quick.
Gap at the front as well is closed. It's now down to 2.5 seconds, so definitely not over in the front of the DP class. Gap at the front of GT3 has spread a little now. It's out to 3 seconds, but that's definitely not over as well. And Marcian has actually got through Zarzon. That's done. Did miss that pass. We'll get a cut price racing replay of it though.
Looks like a pretty significant gap as well, because Marcian already in the area of about 2 seconds up the road, so must have been a pretty dominant move there.
They just got it done, looks like through turns 1 and 2 into the chicane. But there was a mistake there from Zarzon, and that's what's caused it. Ran wide, ran too deep trying to defend, and cost him. Go back live.
Thomas Hinz was actually making big inroads on Labardi there, but had a big moment into turn 1 behind the slower traffic cars, and I think he's thrown that all away there. He got the gap down to just 2.4 seconds from 3.2 on the previous lap.
Here comes Vecchio. Sorry, mate.
No, go for it.
Silvassi gonna hold on to the position, but Vecchio was right alongside there, and he's got another overlap. Tough to get it done here, though. Vecchio's got pace, just not at the right spots to get a move done.
But he's doing enough. He's set himself up for a very good run here. So look at this, into this next corner. Expect Vecchio to dive it on the inside on that ERT Ferrari. There he goes, up the inside. Pretty even on the brakes, but I think Silvassi just let him go there.
Yep. Silvassi didn't defend too hard, but he's going to have to watch out because Paul Mansell's right behind him, and Mansell is quite a very, very good driver as well. He'll make sure that this isn't too easy. Make sure there's enough pressure on Silvassi to try and get a move done. Got 10 minutes left on the clock. The predictometer's gone a little bit haywire tonight. It's numbers are going a bit crazy. It's now saying 3 to go. We've definitely got about 6 or 7 laps left in this race. Ignore the predictometer.
My predictometer is still going pretty strong, and it's saying we have 7 laps still left on the clock. So we'll see if that is correct, and we don't need to upgrade our subscription to Predictor V2. But right now, still looks all pretty good, and we have a lot of battles happening through the GT classes as well, as we still have Wayne Burke actually catching onto the back of Guy Leach as well. And we haven't talked much about Wayne Burke. He was very strong in the Corvette at the start of this season, but is now in the GT field and looking like he can potentially have the pace over Guy Leach.
Yeah, Wayne's one of those drivers that can pretty much jump out there and drive anything. He very, very accomplished. Seen him do very, very well in V8 Scops. We've seen him do very, very well in pretty much every car he drives. When we used to broadcast Oval Series, he was always very competitive in those too. So, very, very good steerer is Wayne Burke. And Guy Leach, another driver that is very, very accomplished and very, very skilled as well. So, this will be a very, very good battle. I just said very a lot.
It's a very nice word, very, so you have to make sure you vary your words a lot. Otherwise, it gets very repetitive, Jake.
Well done. You did vary in a different way. Well done. Thomas Hinz has got it back down to 2.6 again. It did drop, extend out, I should say, to around about, predictometers stop going crazy. It got out to about 3.4. It's now back in to 2.6. Last lap around, half-second gain for Hinz. We're predicting 5 to 6 laps to go. Interesting to see what happens.
And Labardi's coming onto that battle with Silvassi at the moment, who has Vecchio right in front, as Paul Mansell's actually dropped away from that fight. But these guys are not going to give up that position easy, and Labardi has not caught them in a particularly nice spot on track either. So he might get past Silvassi here, but getting past Vecchio is not going to be quite as easy, I think.
This will definitely help Hinz, because Hinz is going to get past nice and easy from Paul Mansell.
Something's happened to Elliot Biddle, I believe.
He's appeared out of the race. See if we can get a Cup Price Racing replay and pick up what's happened.
That's just the pure disconnect, unfortunately, for Elliott.
Incident count, possibly.
Yep, just disconnected out of the Aqua Minerale corner. So that's a shame for him, but you know, sometimes these things happen, and it's just something you have to bite the bullet with in sim racing.
Now Wayne Burke's back in the pit. Something's happened to Burke as well while we were watching that Cup Price Racing replay. Burke's had a moment and
just pulled the pin on it.
Pulled off the side of the track and ended up back in the pit. So I'm not sure what's happened there with Wayne Burke. That's a bit of a strange one. Go back live.
How does 2 seconds sound? Hinz and Labate.
Yep. Under 2 seconds. 1.8 now out on track. Now officially 5 to go. Predictometer's now decided to stop having a hissy fit, and it's showing the correct amount of laps to go now.
A 39.3 on that last lap for Mr. Carlo Labate, and behind a 38.5, 8/10 of a second quicker in Thomas Hinz's favour. This could get racy pretty quick, Jay.
Yeah, it definitely could. Another one that's starting to get racy as well is the battle that we're still seeing at the front of GT3. Last lap around, Ross Rizzo only got a 10th this time, but it's down to 2.6 seconds, so keep an eye on that as well. Definitely not over that battle.
And it's not particularly close at the moment, but still ranging around each other. Is that a second, third, and fourth in GTE? All three cars in the range of about 2 seconds of each other, so any kind of traffic could potentially make it 3 battles in 3 classes for us, as there has been so many times in this season, as Labate rounds the final corner for 4 laps to go, and they're now well and truly in the same camera shot.
And Labate will start to sense Thomas Hinz coming at him now. We'll see the comparison lap times. 38.1 versus a 37.9. That's Labate thought he'd come in with a counter punch, and Hinz has come in with the uppercut. Labate's starting to look like he's almost out standing on his feet. Is that enough boxing terms there? I think I did alright.
I was trying to think of a counter to that pun, but unfortunately not happening today. But the pace these DP guys are running, Thomas Hinz's fastest lap tonight is a 37.7, and on that last lap it was technically a 37.8, so within a 10th of his fastest lap. So these guys are going hell for leather right now, and this is getting very, very tense as Hinz just has a little bit of traffic. He'll get past actually very easily, in fact, so lost not even a second there. So fantastic by that Mercedes driver there. And Labate's potentially going to have a bit of traffic coming up with that GTE car. He might approach him into the final braking zone, into the double left-hander. So traffic is looking like it could be working in Hinz's favour right now as he launches over the curbs using every inch of suspension travel in that Corvette prototype. And just as I suspected, Labate is going to get... Oh, no, the Ford moves out of the way, unfortunately, for us on the sidelines to not...
Oh, big mistake though. Labate had a big lock up. And have a look at the gap closing now.
Under a second with 3 laps to go. Hinz closing rapidly.
38.7 versus a 38.1. 0.6 of a second gain that time around. Official gap at the line, 0.9 of a second. Getting heated.
This is going to get very interesting very quick as Hinz just looks quicker all over the circuit as a Labate dipping multiple wheels into the gravel there, trying to use every inch of track he possibly can, missing the apex into the Tosa hairpin, and Hinz hooks it up pretty nicely, a little bit of wheel spin on the exit, but this is just going to be gains all the way through on Thomas Hinz against Gabriel, I'm getting all my names mixed up, Carlo Labate. It's too exciting, Jay.
Take a breath, mate, take a breath. I think this is the first time all night that Labate's really been pressured And I think there's another mistake for Labardi. He's missed another apex. He's starting to feel a little bit of pressure come for the first time all race after 43 minutes of racing. There's someone in his rear vision mirror that's catching him, and he's not coping with it too well, which you wouldn't after so long of not having anyone follow you.
No, Labardi would be in a massive rhythm right now. He'd be so focused on doing his leader's pace, just not worrying about anyone else, just controlling the pace. And out of nowhere, Thomas Hinz is just hounding the back of him. We started this lap at just on 1 second gap. As we cross the line, it's going to be more like 6/10. It's going to be a slipstream. It's going to be a crazy final 2 laps.
1 minute 40 on the clock when they've crossed the line, so there will be 2 to go unless there's some sort of major incident between these guys. Gap at the line, just over half a second. On board here with Hinz, you can see the different lines that Labardi's starting to take. He's looking like he's starting to defend.
And with the rate Hinz is catching him, he might not quite get onto the back of him on this lap. He's very, very close. He can almost touch the back of Carlo Labardi's Thrustmaster sponsored car. But if he gets onto the back of him properly at the end of this lap, it's going to be a final lap pass attempt for Hinz to get this race win, which he could so easily get at the moment. Is right there. He can see every detail of that massive diffuser on the back of that Thrustmaster car. And, well, I was wrong. He's there. Thomas Hinz right on the gearbox now. And with a lap and a half to go, Labardi is going to have to pull out something special to hold back Hinz, who is a man on a mission right now.
Apologies to the rest of the field for focusing on this battle, but we have to stay with it because it is the closest battle on track. There's nothing between them now.
Hinz's best opportunity is going to be the huge slipstream down the front straight and under brakes into turn 1. We saw him so good under brakes against Wayne Hewitt earlier in the race, but he is going to get just one single crack at Carlo Labardi under brakes, setting up the left-hander to get maximum
Oh,
power.
big slide.
Labardi's sliding around. This is going to be advantage Hinz. He's in the slipstream. He's going to drag it all the way up to the back of the Thrustmaster racing car, trying to close on the slipstream. Labardi with that big damage to the front, not helping him either. And this is going to be on for young and old into turn 1. Can Hinz get it? Can he get to the inside? Labardi is going to defend it. Hinz is going to go to the outside like he did so many times. Hinz locked up. He's in the gravel. Hinz takes the race lead.
Wow. It's not over though. Labardi's still in the slipstream, so Labardi could still come back here. This is the final lap. Thomas Hinz now leads this race.
My concern for Labardi would be that red mist. He would be fuming with himself. 27 laps in the lead of this race. Unfortunately for him, it's going to be a 28-lap race. He is going to be fuming with himself, and Thomas Hinz right now is dancing all smiles away, and the gap is already out to almost a second.
Yep, big lead starting to gather here for Hinz. It's growing and growing. It's now at 1.1 second. Hinz now has a little bit of traffic that he has to start to focus on. And stop looking in his mirror because he's pulling away from Labardi and quite quickly.
So many times in this IMSA Sports Car Championship we've had last minute drama in the final 5 minutes, in the final 4 minutes. Tonight at Imola, the final round of the championship, which has been fantastic, crazy from start to finish, action all the way from the green flag. And Thomas Hinz may have just pulled out one of the best finishes we've seen in this IMSA Sports Car Championship all season. And Jay, I'll hand it over to you. He's coming around the final corner.
Yeah, great drive from Thomas Hinz. Got himself in a little bit of trouble at the start. And he's going to come away and pick up a win in the final round, round 12 of Thursday night IMSA here at Imola. Great drive, Thomas Hinz. Official gap over Labardi, 1.02 seconds. So well done to Thomas Hinz for picking up the win. We'll go to Garcia. He's got 2.8 second lead over Ross Rizzo at the moment. I don't think Rizzo is going to be able to pull that back, but again, great drive from Rizzo. He's going to pick up another solid podium.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic drive from Rizzo, but today Roge Garcia has done a fantastic effort. Both GT classes have an almost entire lap left to each other, apart from the Corvettes who have just crossed the finish line. So Garcia can just soak up the atmosphere. He has 2 seconds back to Rizzo, doesn't have to push it too much. And he can enjoy what has been a very, very brilliant display from him tonight in that Mercedes. So coming into the final part of the track, not a particularly tricky part of the circuit, no real risk to these corners, so he can just make sure he takes it nice and easy. Positive Sim Racing have been a team that have really made some steps forward in the last few seasons and have turned themselves into quite a force looking towards the Pro Series coming up in the next few weeks. But for now, Roge Garcia will take victory in the IMSA Sports Car Championship in the final round here at Imola.
Yeah, well done to Garcia. Rizzo will come home second and Marcia's back in third in that class. And Fabrice Cornelis ended up fairly decent win in the end. Crosses the line. Picks up the win by around about 3.5 seconds. Marcia and Tony Baird will come home in third in that class. But again, an absolutely fantastic night of racing we've seen here at Imola for Thursday night IMSA. Been a thoroughly enjoyable series to broadcast. As we won't be broadcasting this series next season, we'll be bringing you an all-new series, the Cut Price Racing Mazda MX-5 Challenge, which is open to anyone. It will be a hosted series, hosted by us. Anyone is free to race if they so choose to, but we'll run through the leaderboard. DP class leaderboard on screen. Thomas Hinz picks up the win over Labardi, 1.2 seconds in the end, as we said. Gabriel Roos third. Wayne Hewitt fourth. He doing a great job holding off Hinz in second place for a while, then had a couple of issues later in the race. James King in fifth. Tate Marchi in sixth. Then DNFs to Stephen Denton and Mikey Olsen.
In the GTEs, Fabrice Cornelius takes the win just over Anti-Terror, who was being closed in by Tony Baird in third to round off the podium. Julian Orfrey, Matt J. Ferro complete the top five, followed by Vecchio, who was on his comeback drive, Yati Hornet Silvassi, followed by Mantle, Jellings, and Leach to complete the top 10, with Jose Raman Buella, Wayne Burke, Mario Berganzini, and Andrew Welter all falling into troubles.
GT3 6-car field, we had Garcia picking up the win from Ross Rizzo, Weissbach, then Zarzon, Turkinen, and Biddle, the 6 drivers in that field. But congratulations to Thomas Hinz, Fabrice Cornelis, and Roge Garcia. Thank you again to yourself, Bo, for your help throughout this series.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. My first foray into iRacing commentary. Enjoyed it a lot. Thanks to V8 Online for the opportunity. And it's going to be a fantastic time in the MX5s this time at next season on Thursday nights. So be sure to tune into that. But from me, thanks for having me, guys.
For jumping in, I greatly appreciate it, regardless of what the audience think. I think the audience have enjoyed having you alongside as well. But we'll hear your voice next season with something for sure.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We will be back Sunday night with a bit of headlight action from Bo with Carrera Cup Australia. Then Monday night for the Aussie Driver Search iRacing Official Bet Supercar Series finale from Road Atlanta. Then a few days off, and then we'll be into V8 Scops Phillip Island 500 coming up next weekend. Really looking forward to that. Thank you for tuning in and being with us here on V8's Online. We'll see you next time.